Very special good evening to all of you. And today we have a very special guest with us from Uganda, East Africa. Uh, Beatrice Birungi ma'am. She is a neuropsychotherapist, researcher, lecturer, counselor, and spiritual mentor. She is doing a great job for humanity and having a great command on the spiritual way of living, how our spiritual existence and how we can live with our universal existence. Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing your valuable time. Now you can start your lecture.
Good evening to you all viewers. I'm glad to be here with you today. In my work, I combine neuropsychology, quantum physics, and spirituality in order to assist humanity prevent mental health issues so that they can understand the fragility of the mind and how the vibration from thoughts, emotions, either down-regulates or up-regulates the body's health, staying in flow with the fabric of the cosmos, connecting to creation, to water, to wind, to earth, to wood, in order to rejuvenate our body, emotional, and mental health through receiving life force from them. And spirituality is awareness that we can live from both our physical and our energy spirit parts. The relationship and connection with the Supreme Presence in all creation, in all humanity, animating life and relationships. Psycho-spiritual refers to the relationship between spirituality and the mind. That is psychology. We have the mind, the psyche, or the soul, and we also are spirit. Psychology without spirituality is lame. Psychology without spirituality is dry because it is disconnected from the fresh breeze of intuitive insight. And on the other hand, spirituality without psychology is lame because it does not deal with the mental, emotional issues and health benefits at the surface below our lives. Quantum physics, on the other hand, is more than just physics. It is a new form of mysticism, and it suggests the interconnectedness of all things and beings, the connection of our minds with a cosmic mind. It's about matter, energy, vibration, and frequency. It allows two objects to affect each other's behavior instantly across vast distances. Now, when we come to neuropsychology, it is the psychology of the brain and behavior. The nervous system and the brain affect our behavior and cognitive function. Our thought, emotion, and behavior release neurotransmitters, and the desired behavior can be achieved through particular practices to alleviate and guide energy for neurological disorders. I usually start my presentations with a poem or with a point of reflection. I hereby invite my dear viewers to either close your eyes and pay attention as these words wash over you. Taming the mind, rewiring the brain's neural circuitry for a new way of experiencing the world, situations, events, circumstances, people, and places, with freedom of mind and an open heart to live sovereign in the physical world in our physical bodies. Of all the things that people value, the mind is the most precious treasure in the whole world. Are we making sure to look after it very well? This mind can be tricked into happiness or sadness. It has tremendous power to deceive us. As long as we take our deluded thoughts as real, they continue to torment us horrendously and mercilessly. No creature in the world is as miserable as man in the misery of mind. We torment ourselves with our mind. Sorrow, pain, and suffering are burning in the mind. No creature's mind is so full of torture, fear, loss, grief, pain, discontent, anguish, lamentation, rejection. Our life here on earth is vested with sorrow, storms, and turmoil, ambition, disappointment, insecurity, envy, and discrimination. Thoughts are tremendously seductive. If they go unnoticed, they have a power that they become dictators of the mind. But when thoughts are noticed, the power they have is only the power we give to them. And in the light of awareness, the power they have dissolves and becomes empty. And when we pay attention and we stop thinking for a while, we touch the wonders of the world. We touch reality when we tame thoughts, letting go of anxiety, living a life of calm, healing our body and our mind to have proper mental health. Our greater purpose in this life, therefore, is mind liberation. We can train the mind to stay peaceful amidst chaos, to surmount sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of suffering and discontent, and all things that are dominating our lives are seen with a new set of eyes, so that we are no longer prisoners of our own mind. We are transmuting pain into purpose for higher sovereign living, transcending the stress-driven life. So as you quietly get back into the presence, here is the question for all of us. Are we choosing higher sovereign self-living, or are we choosing the stress response-driven life? Because staying in the stress response system or the sovereignty over all system is the choice we have to make. And it can give us either hell or heaven on earth, because we are sovereign beings with a physical body in a physical world. We are living in a time where what we perceive from the outer environment could keep us in high alert, in the freeze, flight, or free stress response. Everything we see with our eyes, everything we hear with our ears, whatever we feel with our skin is not what causes us distress. What actually causes us distress is the meaning and interpretation we give to that which happens to us. What is happening in our world today, separation, greed, corruption, competition, control, judging, blame, war, poverty, disease, aging, and death, is not what causes us distress. What causes us distress is the meaning we give to it, and this meaning fills us with fear and uncertainty. So, can we determine whether we will have a piece of heaven or a piece of hell on earth while we are still in our physical bodies? Surely we do not need to first see the death of our bodies in order to have heaven or in order to see hell. Hell or heaven is right here and right now. When we cultivate residing in the magical, powerful moment of the now, The I am presence, where we are love, where we are whole, where we are complete, innocent, and worthy. That moment of stillness, where we are in touch with our sovereign higher selves. When we get to touch our own sovereign self, we will have touched the sovereign self of all humanity in oneness and harmony. In this now moment, we are in touch with all creation. We are everything, and everything is us. All is there. Nothing is missing. Nothing is lost. We don't need to seek for anything. It is right here. Past and present are in this present moment. When we are in this present moment, there is no illusion of separation. There is no illusion of death and dying. There is no illusion of pain and suffering. It is our lower human ego stress response, dense energy vibration, that keeps us in the stress response. So much suffering is happening in the planet right now, and it is all a result of humanity's perceptions. Our thinking mind creates opposites. Our thinking mind creates contrasts and dualities, and it creates separation. We are stuck in the world of dualities. Oneness is the coming together of all opposites. Opposites are one and the same, a different degree of vibration, different poles of the same thing, working against each other, but yet complementing each other. Can we be able to experience compassion through pain? Loneliness as vastiness? Fear as a birthing of love? Abundance amid scarcity? Security amidst frailty? Experiencing longing as a need for fulfillment? Denominations as a unity in worship? Contentment in disgruntledness? We can choose to live from our sovereign, higher awakened self, where we are already awakened, already ascended, and vibrating at higher frequencies, where we can live in awe and wonder of a child. Now, as we get into the journey of becoming who we really are and living according to our sovereign self, we need to understand the tremendous power that thoughts have, the words we speak, and the emotions we feel, all of which have a particular vibration of frequency that affects our bodies. We need to understand the importance of water as a conductor of energy and vibration. As humans, we are 60% water. We are actually water beings. We live on the earth that is 70% water. We are a water planet. Water has particular properties. It's absorbed and is programmed by almost every other substance around it. So we need to pay attention to how we program the waters in our own bodily cells, because this water in our cells will carry the energies and information in our thoughts, in our words, and in our emotions. And we can heal our body with our thoughts, with our words, or we can keep our body in psychosomatic disorders and lifestyle-induced illnesses just by the negative thoughts that we have, or the positive thoughts that we choose to have. So, what is our choice right now? We have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, the way I understood them in psychology is different from how I understand them right now. They are meant to keep us off the spiritual path, but they can actually be diffused and we can be able to get them to another level where we can evolve and evolve as human beings. When these neurochemicals flood our entire system, we will find ourselves always out of coherence. And coherence means that the front of the brain is communicating with the back of the brain, and the right hemisphere is communicating with the left hemisphere, and there is the heart and the brain are communicating. And the benefits of all this is for us to be able to live in sovereignty. Now, before I conclude, I would like to teach you a few exercises that can help us deal with stress. Because when we are stressed, we lose up to 80% of our blood in the chest area and in the forehead. So we need to do particular exercises to bring back these chemicals into the right procedure. So the first exercise, we place one hand on the front and another hand on the back. We take in some deep breaths and let go and relax. The second exercise, we hold one thumb of one hand on one side of our head and the other thumb on the other side of the head, and the rest of the fingers keep pulling towards the side of the face. Then exercise 3 is to simply smile at your heart. Smile at that fear, smile at that disappointment, smile at that rejection, smile at that anguish, because smiling tricks the mind that all is well. And the mind will release happiness hormones that will actually submerge the cortisol stress hormone. And when we do this exercise, it will allow us, even when the stressor is still on our mind, we will not be going into the stress response of fight, flee, or freeze. There are benefits of this energy healing exercise. Apart from only taking away the stress, they actually keep us in coherence and they keep us in our sovereign state, because in this particular moment, we are whole, we are complete, we are healed. Most of the world situations we go through, they keep changing all the time. But our I am being never changes. The present moment, the now, is absolute. What goes on in our thoughts is relative, it keeps changing. All suffering, all the emotional pain, all misery, all the wars come from thought. And the moment thought is made real, it becomes belief. And the subconscious mind is made up of beliefs we've made ourselves out of our thoughts. Belief means that which we have made real. We make something real and it owns us. We take it as though it lasts forever and never changes, when the truth is it actually is changing all the time. When we make the world real, it owns us. The relative is that which we have made real when it actually isn't. Let us welcome the thoughts if they are coming in already.
Here is a question from YouTube viewer. He wants to ask some sleeping exercise for healing men. You can see on your screen
Okay.
also how
Okay.
during the sleep any exercise for healing.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Most times we lose sleep because our energies are not balancing. And there is a very simple exercise we can do in order to fall into a deep sleep and effortlessly. There is a place at the back of our spine before we get to the sternum, just a few inches below the waist. When you rub that place in circles, eventually the body will get relaxed and you will feel getting into the alpha waves and into the theta waves, ready to fall to sleep. Another exercise you can do for somebody, especially a child who is failing to fall asleep, you get to the point at the top of the crown, to a little bit towards the back. That point is directly where the pineal gland lands, uh, resides beneath. So you simply rotate that area of the pineal gland and it will stimulate the melatonin hormone that is responsible for sleep. Thank you. I hope those two exercises will help you to help get better sleep effortlessly.
Another question is there. Can you read it?
Yes, thank you very much. I can answer this question in only one way. We are in a world where we have let the ego have control and complete power over us as spirit beings. Because the ego gets us to think that we are just physical bodies and that's all there is. And it gets us to think that we live only in a physical world and the physical world is all that there is. And because of that, we focus more on having the ego get us to gratify and satisfy our needs. And when we are thrown into that, I'm sorry to use this word, we become like hungry ghosts. We can never get satisfied with anything. The more we accumulate, the more we will want, and the more we will want, the more we'll keep wanting. And what you say by unwanted consumption, it is the consumption that actually is not needed. We are enough. I hope this answers you, ma'am. Thank you. I can see that question, how to work the subconscious mind according to quantum physics. Thank you so much. First and foremost, we need to understand that this subconscious mind is the doorway to communicating with the outer environment. And whatever it is that is in our subconscious mind, whether it is limiting beliefs or unlimiting beliefs, it is what we will send out into the universe. So what we send out into the universe is from the subconscious mind, and especially from our thoughts, from the words we say, from our intentions, and the emotions we feel. There are two processes here. The first process is of our thoughts, because thoughts are electrical in nature, and they send out electric vibrations. On the other hand, our emotions are magnetic. They send out a magnetic vibration. So when we combine all those beliefs that are either healthy or limiting that are in our subconscious mind, out of the fullness of the subconscious mind, thoughts will flow, emotions will flow, and words will flow. So when we think and feel anything positive, this is what we'll be sending out to the quantum world as positive vibration. And it will keep saturating and gaining momentum in the quantum realm and then come back to us as feedback with great positivity. When we send out suffering, we will attract more situations, more people, more places, and more circumstances that will get us to experience more. It is as if the universe will be wanting to actually confirm to us what is coming out of our subconscious mind. Now, this subconscious mind is very tricky. We need to find a way of being very observant of every belief we have about relationships, beliefs we have about money, beliefs we have about our health, beliefs we have about parenting, and beliefs we have in every area of our life. Because beliefs are very strong, and it is what we believe that will cause us to think the thoughts we say, the thoughts we think, the words we say, and the emotions we feel. It is possible to reprogram our conscious mind to get it out of the limiting beliefs and put positive beliefs that can get us to attract more positive vibes, more positive circumstances, more positive events and opportunities when we touch that realm that is of the positive realm. I hope I've answered your question very well. And remember, for example, what we believe about money. Money loves to go where it is needed. If we have limiting beliefs about money and we think that money is evil, then we'll not have money coming to us. If we think money does not grow on trees, then money as a sentient being will sense that it is not needed. When we are complaining, when we have to pay our bills, then money will get the energy that it's actually not needed. And all that comes from a subconscious mind that is limited.
How we can understand or what will be the role of mental health professionals, because as we discussed earlier, ma'am, so what will be your advice to mental health professionals, especially in field of counseling or therapy, what they should keep in their mind, how they should treat the patient or the client with this perspective, with the perspective of spirituality and quantum physics, or we can say that quantum psychology. So, what will be your advice to mental health professionals?
Thank you very much for that. First and foremost, we need to understand that we came in the world as spirit beings. And the moment the breath of life touched the body, a soul was born and man became a living soul. In order for man to be able to understand the surroundings of the physical world he had been thrown into. So we need to get our clients to understand who they are as a supreme species, that is spirit and divine in nature, and what they have in order to understand the physical plane that we have to live before our breath of life departs back to where it came from. So this soul, what we call the psyche or the mind in psychology, is very, very important for our clients to understand. First and foremost, our clients need to understand that it is the soul, which is composed of the mind, the intellect. It's also composed of our emotions, and it is also composed of our free will. So it is the thoughts that we think about the environment that we're in, the emotions we feel about the environment we are in, and the choices we make while we are still on planet Earth that actually cause us to live somewhere forever when the spirit goes back to where it came from and the body goes back to the soil. What remains is the soul, the mind, or the psyche with its unfinished business in the thoughts, in the emotions, and in the choices it made that either shaped the life or did not shape it. So our clients need to know that we have to constantly be aware of our thoughts, be aware of our emotions, and be aware of the choices that we make in life. Because when the spirit departs and the body goes back to the soil, where does the soul go? With its unfinished business in the thoughts, with its unfinished business in the emotions, and unfinished business in the actions it took and made. A body without a soul is known as a ghost. And this body without the spirit is known as a corpse. How we live right now determines how our soul will be when the breath of life leaves our body. And that is all the reason why we need to get to really understand who we are so that our patients don't get to feel that death scare. We are more than just our physical bodies. We are more than what we see of our bodies. We were there as spirit species before we came into this body. And we remain to be there even after we have departed from our bodies and the body has gone back to the soil. We are not our body. We own this body as the vehicle that helps us to do whatever it is we were meant to do on this physical planet. So why grieve death? We grieve death because we believe that our names, our titles, our bodies are who we are. But the truth is, we are not our body. We are not our titles. We are not our names. We are spirit. We are energy. And energy is neither created nor destroyed, because we need to let our clients understand exactly the difference between the physical body and the soul, which is the psyche or the mind, and the spirit, because the spirit is never corrupted. It is the soul which goes through the experience that when we are still here on earth. It is the soul with its thoughts, the soul with the emotions in the heart, and the soul with the free will to make decisions and choices. When we help our clients to understand that they need to make a daily recollection and moment by moment check on what they are thinking and what they are feeling and what they are speaking and the choices they are making, because these make up what we call the soul or the psyche or the mind. And the moment my body in that breath of life, that life force, that spirit that animates all the internal organs and all the brain processes. Breath is an easier way that will connect us to our spiritual nature. When we breathe in mindfully and feel that breath through our nostrils as it expands our chest cavity, and as we breathe out, imagining that all the stress in our body is being breathed out. Learning to pay attention to this breath of life is very, very powerful, because there is a way we are going to invite in the divine to transmute every negative emotion we feel and call upon our core of purity to activate our wholeness, our healing, so that we can transmute these negative energies into clear essence, back to light, back to wholeness, back to health, back to love. If our patients can truly understand that, there is a lot that is going to be done to prevent mental illnesses once we understand that our thoughts actually cause us the stress, it's not our thoughts that cause the stress, but the meaning we give to what we have thought and what has happened to us. It is okay to feel angry. It is okay to feel lamentation, but how you perceive that dense energy will give it an opportunity to be transmuted into a higher frequency that will get us into states of joy, peace, tranquility, serenity, and harmony and love. And those are the highest levels of vibrations, whereas anger and these other vibrations are down here. So we need to be able to manage our energy in order to ascend from the lower human ego, low vibrations, to the higher sovereign self vibrations of joy, peace, love, and tranquility. And when our clients understand that, they will be able to notice every time they catch themselves either in blame or shame or guilt, to quickly think about happy moments that can immediately transmute them into the higher frequencies. And as I started, I said, the simple trick is smiling at that fear, smiling at that rejection, smiling at that torment, and turning it and churning it into a pure energy. I hope that has been helpful for the person who asked the question of how we can combine spirituality and psychology and get our clients to have a moment of, I prefer to call it mental health bliss, when we are in no acute stress. A little stress is good, but too much stress does not do any good at all, because too much stress eats up all the nutrition. Too much stress makes the immune system to work in default, and too much stress does damage to our neurocells. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And another question is related to it. You have already explained very well about uh, the, we can say, the real nature of the human being and how mental health professionals should see it. What is the role of client? But we have heard line that prevention is better than cure. So, reminding it, what will be the precautions, or what will be the initial precautions for the psychology background students? Uh, Let us simplify. The question is, what will be your guidance to the psychology students who are in the academics of psychology, reading different schools and systems of psychology, but they are not reading in this way? So when they go to their career, when they go to their future life, they treat people accordingly. So what will be your advice or message to the psychology students, and how they should grasp this very essential and very subtle knowledge about the self, about the mental health, about the mind, about the coexistence? So what will be your advice to the psychology students?
I will take them back to where I started. If they can understand that the mind is the most precious treasure in the whole world, they will learn to make sure that they have to look after it very well. And what I'm talking to you right now is not anything that we will get when we read a lot of books. It's not anything that we will get when we read all the journals in the library. It is experiential knowledge. It is knowledge that we will get only after we have experienced it for ourselves. My mentor used to tell me that the longest distance is from the head to the heart. It is only 1 foot, but most of us get to our graves without ever having made that journey. We are stuck so much in conceptual knowledge that we forget the most important knowledge, the knowledge of the experience, the knowledge that comes with heart knowing, the knowledge where we get to that point of stillness, where we can hear that small, still voice that is connecting us to the universal mind of the Creator. All the answers we'll ever need are right there in that moment of stillness. All the questions we will ever ask, the answers are already there in that moment of stillness. We don't need to ask any expert. In actual fact, we are our own teachers when we learn to tap into that knowledge of intuitive wisdom. Most of what we get in the books right now could have been written there by people who were able to get into that still moment and listen to the still voice that would give them that intuition, that prompting. Let us go back to our very first scientists, the Albert Einsteins. They were geniuses, yes, because they tapped into that space. Because in that space, the universal mind already knew the shape of the world. The universal world already knew pasteurization. Everything is already there. We don't need to go anywhere to look for anything. All we need to do is to get into the powerful present moment of the now, where there is no past, where there is no future, but get to that deep relaxation of the still. I call it the inner chamber. I call it the upper room. I call it the winery. That place where we get into and it's all quiet, where we can be able to hear the sound of stillness. That is where we need to go. If there was ever a curriculum that would teach us to balance between conceptual knowledge and heart intuitive knowledge, where the left hemisphere and the right hemispheres of the brain would work together in coherence, we would produce extreme experiments, extreme wonders, and the world would be a better place to live. Dear students, are you able to unify the right and left hemispheres of intuition and logic? Are we able to have harmony and balance between conceptual knowledge and heart intuitive knowing? When we have reached that level, that's when spirituality and psychology will merge into one. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you explained very well. I think students will enlighten. And the most notable thing from your answer is that there is a very greatest distance between our heart or mind, although it seems very less, but the way you perceived it, it is very true, as your mentor told you, and it is very minute and very important thing to understand this conclusion from your answer that we have to manage that distance. We have to understand that it is really before we move to a graveyard and before our death, we have to understand that we have to shorten that distance. And this distance will be shortened from understanding our true self. So you have very well explained. I think students should know their purpose of studying, their purpose of life, and especially the purpose of studying the psychology in a realistic way, in a universal way, not only for themselves but also for their surroundings, their social, uh,
Yeah.
we can say, all the peoples in their social touch. So this is a very essential to know that we have a great distance between our mind or thoughts and our heart or emotions. We have to shorten it. And another question, it is a very simple or very widely asked questions to how to control negativity, ma'am. So I think it is a very nowadays, as you mentioned, there is lot of people who wants to control negativity. So ma'am, kindly enlighten them on uh, as per this question, how they can neglect or how they can control negativity.
Very good question. How can we control negativity? It all begins with one simple step: identifying where that negativity is coming from. And I will go back to this distance between the head and the heart. Very few people ever take this road, and we call it the road less traveled. Most of us prefer to stay on the surface and not get into the core of ourselves because we are afraid of meeting our own demons. Because around the core of our true essence are all the demons that have enveloped us because of the experiences we have gone through in our surroundings, especially in our upbringing. When we are able to tune into our heart, that's when we are able to need our vices in order for them to be manure for our virtues, to be that fertilizer that will nourish the vices that we want to develop. And your question is, how do I control this vice so that I'm not swallowed by it? For example, when we get angry, is it bad to be angry? No, it's not. It is what you do with the anger that will push it to be negative. When we are aware, awareness is a very, very big word, and it is the skill we need to learn. Just be aware of that negativity. Whether it is something negative you've said, or it is something negative you've thought, or it is something negative you felt, give it a sit. Sit with it, befriend it, and then after you have faced it, tell it these 4 words. Write them down if you can, please. The first word is, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I bless you. Those words alone that you say after you have identified that negative energy immediately and spontaneously catapult you into a higher vibration because of the 4 words you've said. Please forgive me. I am sorry. I thank you. I love you. Those words alone transmute any negativity into a clear crystal of bright energy. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have very simplified in 3 steps that should be followed by a person. And whatever today ma'am told us to our viewers, to everyone, and if we adopt very less of it, but we should try to adopt it. Without adopting, just listening, it will be not going to be uh, in a practical way. We should try to adopt whatever ma'am told us today. So, before winding up today's session, ma'am, uh, what will be your conclude message to hold the humanity, hold the world, to everyone on during or through this session? So, what will be your conclude message on today's session to whole humanity?
This is my request to everybody. Right now, the world and humanity are ascending from lower vibrations to higher vibrations. Are you going to be left behind? Or are you going to ascend with all humanity and ascend as the earth is ascending? Something is happening on the planet right now, and it's been happening for the last decade. We are entering into a new era for a new human and a new earth. This new human requires to have an open heart and a liberated mind. Are you ready to join the rest of the world to ascend? This is what I leave with you.
And with a great and wonderful message from your side. And we will meet again. And definitely today's session will inspire a lot of people. They get a clear vision about the psychology, about the mental health and spirituality, and how they are interconnected with each other. You have put the view of a mental health professional, what students should do, and how we come our problems from we can say general problems to the major problems on this earth, and how we should think, how should we feel, our thoughts, our emotions, how we should shorten the distance between them. So, at last, thank you so much, ma'am, for this one wonderful, inspirational, and insightful session. and Gabriel from my side from all over the India for sharing this uh, insightful knowledge with all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Namaste.